Right.
Yeah. And a reminder that if you're making an announcement, to please come up to the front so that Owl can hear and see you for those that are joining online. Sorry. Neil, welcome guests in Rotarians.
So we have one guest, Rotarian, Bob Newberry. And my question for you, Bob, is if you could go anywhere in the world on vacation, where would you go?
That's a really good question. One place,
One place.
I would like to go to New Zealand,
Oh, beautiful. Nice. And what club are you visiting from?
Bellevue.
Valley View. Well, welcome, Bob. And then next we have Brody. And Brody, if you could go on vacation anywhere in the world, where would it go? Where would it be? Tahiti. Nice. And then last but not least is Ben. Ben Hansen. Antarctica. I like that. Well, welcome, guys.
All right, well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. And then Eileen, do you have anyone virtually? No,
Nope.
that's right. All right. Really quick before we go on, I know Bob is here to make an announcement on behalf of Valley View. So Bob, do you want to share? If you want to come up here, in case anyone jumps on.
So I have a question. Who's played golf in the last 2 years?
Mini golf?
I'll take it. I'll take mini golf too. All right, well, I threw out some flyers and this is the 13th year that my wife and I have hosted this Bricks for Babies fundraiser. And 5 years ago, I joined Rotary and we got involved with that. And so now it's a Rotary fundraiser and we do a near and far. So it's a golf outing at Cedar Creek. And part of the funds go toward the Scott Erickson Guardian Angel Fund at the Lacrosse Boys and Girls Club. And part of the funds go toward a children's hospital in Tanzania, East Africa. The Scott Erickson Fund pays for kids who can't afford registration fees, equipment, clothing, anything associated with participating at the Boys and Girls Club in the lacrosse area. And the Tanzanian group we got involved with in 2011. We went with a group from Lutheran Hospital over. It was a surgery group. My wife's an RN. I got to go as the only non-medical person. And I basically was Klinger from MASH, except I didn't cross-dress, but I was the gopher for everything. And that was interesting and I learned a lot. But one of the things that came out of that was I watched these medical people work and I watched the wonderful people from Tanzania. And I thought, you know what, I've put on fundraisers before, I can help in that way. My background is marketing and I was a professor at Winona State for 25 years teaching in marketing. So we started this fundraiser for that purpose and started several years ago to include the Boys and Girls Club because we found that it was easier to draw people in if you had a near and far and it was all about children and it is all about children and families. And so we run this every year. Not only golfers, about half the people that come to the dinner don't golf. They come out to the dinner afterwards and join us for the auction. How many of you have seen Dan Sobranic play music? A few, yep. Wonderful. He comes and he gives us an hour and a half of music during the happy hour before the dinner. And then we have a nice auction. And so all of those funds, IHP International Health Partners, IHP US, is a Minnesota 501(c), and they have no paid people. Everybody in the US is a volunteer. So our record is 95 to 97% of the money raised gets to Tanzania. So it's pretty impressive when you look at organizations, charity organizations. So I encourage you all, my name, number, phone number is all down there on that sheet that I handed out. And please come join us. I'm throwing a kind of a gauntlet down to the golfers. We started last year. We're gonna call this the Cooley Region Rotary Team Golf Championship. We have a team, bring your team or two, take us on. You don't have to be any good. It's all for charity. So it's a lot of fun. So anybody have any questions about what we do over there? Oh, IHB has built 2 hospitals in Tanzania since 2010. And now we've just purchased land to build a 3rd one. They're all rural. They're all places that don't have immediate care facilities. So that's what we do. Anybody, any questions? Okay. Hey, I appreciate you being here. I'm going to take off right away. My sister, who I haven't seen since last fall, and my 93-year-old brother came into town at 4:30 this afternoon. So I'm kind of on call there. They were like, really? You're leaving us? I'll be back. So, all right. Thanks for having me tonight. I appreciate it.
All right, and so Alyssa, 8 years this year, so she's our only Rotary anniversary this month, so congratulations, Alyssa. And then we have 2 birthdays. Earlier this month, we had Bradley, and later this month, we have Ryan. So happy birthday. And we have 1 new member, I'm gonna say it wrong, Alicia, right? Yeah. She was approved at our board meeting last week, so congratulations. We're happy to have you. Okay, we might have to come back to this, but really quickly, I want to thank Phil. He created a video that highlighted our Sleep in Heavenly Peace project with Steph Klein. I think it was shown at TriCon last week and a half ago, and it was very well received. So Phil, thank you for your work on that. Sorry, I inputted it in here, but the link isn't working, so I will send it out at another time. All right, youth committee update. Is Laura's not on? No. Do you have anything, Lisa?
The normal families.
Okay, really quickly, so Ryla is happening this weekend and Mari is attending as well as Keith's daughter from our club. So we are sponsoring them to go for the weekend down near the Dells. Rotary After Hours is going to contribute $500 towards a meal on Saturday night. And Laura was looking for a couple volunteers to go down and be there. I think we're just gonna cater something, so you won't have to cook. It's about 100 people. But if anyone wants to attend that, I think the meals from like 4:30 to 5:30, if I remember correctly. So she'll be heading down that afternoon and coming back. So if anyone's interested in attending with her or meeting her down there, I'm sure she would love it. They would love to have a couple people from our club there to help serve. But I realize that it's a Saturday, and like I said, it's down near the Dells. So if you're interested, reach out to me or Laura Lee, and we'll get you more information. All right, service announcements. Do you want to do it, Phil?
Want to explain the.
Oh, sure. Really quickly. So the Great Rivers United Way is partnering. It's part of Rotary Lights. They are doing a mail carriers food drive this Saturday, May 13th. So if you live in La Crosse, or Unalaska, you can put a bag of food out by your mailbox, not in your mailbox, so that they know or they can see it. By 9 a.m. they will have people coming and picking up. They are looking for volunteers to go pick up food in the different locations and work at the meal or the food collection site, I believe in La Crosse. So if anyone's interested, let me know. I will put that link to on our Facebook page, but if anyone is interested, let me know and I can give you the information.
We had an awesome time this past Saturday for about an hour and a half. We were at the Cooley Region Humane Society. You seen some really cool pictures up there. I think Bandit, what might have been the favorite? Ben, is that true? Did you have Bandit?
No.
No? Okay.
Not sure that, I don't know.
Okay, so Bella, Bandit, and some other food name that was used. So we got to walk the dogs, we got to fold papers that they used in the cages, and we got to do laundry, some people did. But it was a lot of fun, people getting together and enjoying that. This is probably gonna be some kind of reoccurring event, whether it's an hour, hour and a half, quarterly or what have you, but they even asked us if we could come back. So they can train us and everything. So if that's something you're really excited about, join us. It's a lot of fun. Monday meals, again, May 15th, I'm going to be probably cooking chicken parmesan. So if you are a cook or enjoy cooking or enjoy trying to cook, come anytime during the day and help out. And then it's already online to Club Runner to sign up as well. We need at least 6 to 8 people. Yesterday, last night, we served over 200 people. So the need is exponentially rising. And then I found out this week, thank you, Lisa, about the Memorial Day flags. It will be on the 24th, 5 to 6, or when we are done. So you can come out and join that. So Ashley and I were talking, and it's kind of hard to get people sometimes to sign up online or remember when you leave or when you get pounded by so many emails by all the people in your life. So we're going to start sending around sign up sheets during the meetings again. So we will start doing that. And if you put your name on here, I will make sure your name is entered into Club Runner so you can get credit. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you for everyone that went to the Humane Society this weekend. It looked like fun. I figured I shouldn't go because I'd probably have 2 more dogs. But it looks like a good time. All right, Nathan, not to put you on the spot, do you want to talk about this at all?
Well, I mean, it's pretty all the information there. Basically, a few months ago, I kind of found out this thing that Pearl Street Brewery is doing where they kind of sponsor a nonprofit every month. And so we got chosen to be, in June. And so basically on Tuesdays from 4 to 8 is Tuesday, right? Yes, Tuesday from 4 to 8, we get $1 back for every pint that they sell for every Tuesday in the month. And then $3 for every growler. So if you're not doing anything on Tuesday from 4 to 8, come have a pint. Invite your friends. The more the merrier. That's just money straight that we get back from that. So yeah, it should be a good time. I actually have to go. I'm going to be there the first, I think, Tuesday of the month. Just if anybody has any questions that's there, not from our club, but just like random people that happen to walk in, I can tell them about what we're doing. So yeah.
Every Tuesday?
Every Tuesday in June, yeah, from 4 to 8. Yep. And I don't know if there's anything on our Facebook yet, or
I don't think so.
okay, I can make sure something is put on the Facebook page as well. So.
We plan to have a social after one of our meetings that you. Go there afterwards.
Oh, we could. That would be a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a good idea. Yeah, we should do that.
Yeah. Or the off Tuesday. But yes, that's a good idea.
No, I don't see the end.
Oh. All right, fair enough. All right, well, thank you, Nathan, for taking that opportunity on. All right, just a list of all the upcoming area Rotary Club events that are coming up. So Onalaska Hilltopper Rotary has their Port Q on May 8th. And then Rotary East is doing bingo at Pearl Street Brewery on May 24th. So there's a lot of other ones coming up, but those are the ones that are coming up soon. So feel free to support events. I know they come to our events as well, so it's always good if you can make it. What? Oh, yeah, we had a table, half table at the Pullman Rotary Service Auction on Friday, which was super fun. Marissa kindly brought us over part of her cake, so they do auctioning of cakes that usually go for quite a bit of money, and then they re-auction them. So thank you, Marissa, for sharing your delicious peanut butter chocolate cake. So,
Yeah.
but it was a lot of fun, so thanks everyone that attended. Star meeting, so if you're a newer member, these are good meetings to attend. They take place, I think it's every other month. So, May 11th, this Thursday, from 7 to 8 a.m. at the Capella Performing Arts Center. You can join, and it's put on by Downtown Rotary. Friendship exchange. I've mentioned this a couple times, but one thing I wanted to mention, the friendship exchange guests from India will be here in June. It's like June 11th to the 14th, and they have different events going on during that time. So they will be at our meeting, the first meeting of the month, but they're also going to like the waterfront, the lacrosse queen, and they're inviting all Rotarians to attend. There are fees for them, but I have the link. So again, I will work on getting that out to you, but just that will be an upcoming opportunity, and you will get to meet those exchange guests at our meeting in June. They'll be joining Jennifer. All right, Bill. Sorry.
That's my bad. I'm dealing with really bad anxiety today. I'm all over the place. We have our slate from the nomination committee. Introducing President-elect 3-year Steph Klein. President-elect nominee 4-year Neil Weiser. Treasurer-elect 2-year Lori Francis. Secretary-elect 2-year Cassie Miller. Sergeant-at-Arms Emma Booth. Director 3-year Lisa Cobbs, and Director 1-year Jabran Augustine. So those are your introductions. Thank you to the committee for all you did.
How this works, it's changed from a few years ago. So all of you received an email to nominate members from our club for the different positions. After that was done, we contacted all those people that were nominated and asked them if they accepted the nomination or not. If they did, they moved on to the election committee, which was people from the current board and then some other members. We kind of slated them into where we thought they would be a good fit, or kind of to balance out. So we have some newer members, some members that have been part of Rotary for a while, and then met with those individuals to just confirm that they understood that the role and the commitment. And then our election committee approved it last night. And you will be receiving an email this evening right after this meeting. So if you all could take a minute to go in and approve or not approve the board, that would be appreciated because we need a quorum. So there is other questions in there about avenues of service, which is coming up in August. So nominating other members for those awards, which I would really appreciate if everyone makes a nomination for those, but at the very least, if you can approve the board, that would be very helpful. So that's all. Any questions on the election?
Serving 2 years.
What?
It's still serving 2 years. He's got a 140 in place.
I'll be 2 years.
Okay.
So, well, it'll be 3 because then you'll be past president.
Well, yeah, 1, 2.
Yeah, so one of the people in the president's line backed out, so Bill moved up a year. And so that's why we have a 3-year president-elect. That's not typical, usually it's the 4-year. So, and then Neil moved from the 3-year director into the 4-year president role. So thank you, Neil, for doing that. So there's a little bit of kind of goofiness to this year, but it all worked out and it'll be a great board, so. All right. Any other announcements? I threw up the plant sale for Northside Elementary. They were one of the pitches made by Phil. So that information's up. And Bradley, sorry. I'm so sorry. Thank you, Bradley. So.
You gave me any credit.
So if you are looking for plans, hit that up. I think it's next week. Yep. So. Any other announcements?
Congratulations to Laura on her second pregnancy.
Oh, yeah. Congratulations to Laura Lee. She is expecting another boy. I can't remember when, September maybe? October. So we're very excited for her. We'll have another little one probably joining her at meetings.
Congrats to the and staff for your happier.
All right, thank you. So, our last meeting with Shark Tank, we had 3 awesome pitches. Dustin pitched the lacrosse community theater, a new truck for them. We had Phil and Bradley pitch a greenhouse for Northside Elementary. And we had Caitlin, who teamed up with Stephanie, Amy, and Justin for the State Road All Abilities Playground. So thank you to all of you for taking the time and effort to put that presentation together and coming up and pitching to our club for our next big project. So I think everyone there deserves a round of applause. All right, so we have the winner. So it was, I will say it was close, but I think it was easy. I know years ago we tried to do some weird things about it or point system. So this was very straightforward. And I had someone else do it with me, so I did not cheat. So without further ado, our winner is Northside Elementary. Congratulations. They were aware ahead of time because they had to fill out a grant by May 5th. So they'll be working on that. And then I'm sure be bringing more information as that project takes shape to our club on how we can support it. So thank you. All right. Now for the fun part of the evening, we have Jason Larson here, the Executive Director of St. Clare Health Mission, to talk about their mobile clinic. Jason and I go way back. He was my former boss and he started and I got out of there. Just kidding. But, no, he's really great, but I've enjoyed working with you over the years in new roles. So I'll turn it over to you.
It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be a weird look every time. So I'm Jason Larson, Executive Director of St. Clare Health Mission. We are a free and charitable clinic located right across the street. So if you've ever wondered what that long, thin building that looks like a really big construction trailer, it's actually a free medical clinic. So after this, for folks that want to see the Rotary mobile clinic, we can walk across the street. I can grab the keys. Can't go in the building right now because we do have a clinic going on, but I can go grab the keys and we can do a tour. The majority of what I'll talk about tonight is the Rotary Mobile Clinic, but I'll start with St. Clare Health Mission. So we've been around for, it'll be 30 years in about a month. And back up about 45 years ago is when a lot of the Hmong refugees started arriving to our areas nationally because they really had our back in Vietnam War and were getting killed in Vietnam. So that's when we started bringing Hmong refugees to the United States and recognized there was no soft landing to healthcare. So during that time, the community started what was called the Indo-Chinese Screening Clinic, which was again, just a soft landing to healthcare for the Hmong refugees. And as that was going, and it was going really well, everyone in the community recognized, gosh, we have this gem of a nonprofit, the Indo-Chinese Screening Clinic, but everybody, there's so many in our community then and now that can't afford healthcare, don't qualify for healthcare, and have no access to healthcare. So over the years, it transitioned into St. Clare Health Mission Free Clinic, and we've been operating under that name for about 30 years. And the other important thing about St. Clare Health Mission, which is very different from a lot of free clinics, is you're like a younger group, so I won't go into some of the details I usually go to. But so it was started with the full support of Gunderson Health System and Mayo Health System. And 30 years later, our board makeup is 3 reps from Mayo, 3 reps from Gunderson, 1 from FSPA, and 2 at large. So we still have this really great tight knit collaboration that has a lot of effects that I'll talk about as the presentation goes on. Lastly, on this slide, this beautiful slide that I made myself is that if you just look at year over year, last year to the year before, our patient volumes are up over 40% year over year. 55% of our patient volume is Latino, immigrant folks that move to our area because there are jobs and we need people to fill those jobs. And then the rest is just kind of like a smattering of what you kind of see in our community, everybody else. And yeah, next slide. So never really talk about missions in presentations, but I think for this one, it's important and maybe a little unique. So Rotary, together we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. St. Clair Health Mission, we envision a community where all have access to quality health care. And so tonight I'll talk about how those stories align. So I started at St. Clair Health Mission in February 4th of 2020. What's notable about that, like if you fast forward a month or so, February of 2020, you don't have to raise your hand, you can blurt out the answer. COVID, a global pandemic. So I'm a nonprofit guy and I entered St. Clair Health Mission with 0 healthcare experience. And then 3 weeks later, you know, I remember if you look back, if you think back, for me, a little bit older than a lot of the group here, it got weird. It was just weird, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, school's closed for a week. It's like, whoa, that's really weird. And then the next Tuesday, school is closed indefinitely. And I get chills as I say that, because that's when we were at clinic when that happened. And we all just saw, this is not good. And when you're hearing this is not good from leaders, medical leaders of Gunderson and Mayo, it was pretty darn scary. And that's really the start of the mobile clinic. Is that, do you remember when your clubs weren't meeting, when everything just shifted, when you're trying to get things together on Zoom? Well, raise your hand if you know Josh Mancy. During that really kind of dark, scary time, Josh had the idea of, what if we did something big? It's such a dark time, it's such a bleak time, not just for our Rotary clubs, not just for our communities, but globally. What if we did something big here to just kind of inspire hope? And instill hope in our communities, in our Rotaries, and just take big action. And so Josh met with some other leaders, Marissa hooked him up with Dean Dickinson, and it just grew from there. And the idea was kind of Shark Tank style, right? Is let's reach out to 10 nonprofits with the support of La Crosse Community Foundation and say, if you could do something huge, if you had a huge influx of cash, what would you do? And so they got those proposals. It came down to 2 finalists, and a story about that too, just since we're all Rotarians. I'm a Rotarian from La Crosse East Club. So I go into the presentations and I forget who it was, but they're like, hey, Jason, come with us. So they walk me in, I sit down and I see on the screen 3 high-level leaders of our community presenting on their project. And so my heart just went to my stomach. I wasn't supposed to be in there. They just recognized me as a Rotarian, so they brought me in for the other presentation. And so I just sat there, just seriously, just all the blood went out of my body. I was like, not supposed to be in this room. I'm presenting next. They're like, yeah, you're probably not supposed to be in here. So I just walked back out and sat there. And I really thought, like, this project should win. And in a just society, this project wins, but this project's probably not going to win. Because we don't always live in a just society, right? And so, you know, I tried to get my mojo back, went in the room, and, you know, I think I had a Mad Men moment. If you ever watched that show, I love that show. I love Don Draper. But I sold it to us, to Rotarians, as, and let's do it in this room. Raise your hand if you do service for Rotary locally or regionally. Almost everyone. Raise your hand if you've ever went out of state to do some service. Raise your hand if you went out of country to do some service. So, right, less hands and less hands, but this is what we do. And so the pitch was really, we are always traveling to other countries to do work. That work is in our backyard. We have, again, our clinic, 55% of our patients are non-English speaking Latino workers in our community that even if they had buku bucks, our US health system doesn't allow them to pay for it. So I'm gonna say that again. Let's say I'm a Latino immigrant and I make $125,000 a year. I can't buy into health care here. And if I'm a 7-year-old kid whose parents make pretty good money, still can't. If I'm a 7-year-old that wasn't born here now, this changed in the last year, still can't. So it used to be that Wisconsin and many states covered any child up to the age of 18, any child in poverty that needed health insurance. They don't do that anymore unless you're born here. So during that time, to circle back, I trailed off a little bit there, to be quite honest. But so during like this dark time of COVID, Josh and Rotarians came together to instill hope in our communities, and they selected our project. So another COVID, oh, that's right, you haven't seen this. I love that. I love these pictures. So again, if you think of COVID and all the supply chain shortages, just everything that happened to our economy, when we first decided we were going to do this, really could move forward, it was about 3 months out for a mobile medical clinic. And then as time shifted and we had the money, you guys raised the money to give to this organization that's making the mobile medical clinic for us. It was 6 months out. And by the time that all landed, it was about 12 to 18 months out. And again, supply chain shortages. There were 3 different times that they called me to say you're 3 months out. And so I planned, if you can imagine planning with medical providers, different communities, different county health departments, schools, to like get this project going. And then to get a call like, so sorry, we can't get this, or this for a few months at least. It's coming outside of the US and we just can't get it. So that kept happening. So by the time it actually dropped on August 4th, I had about 2 weeks to like get all those partners back together and launch mobile medicine. Another kind of interesting and fun thing I like to talk about is Rotarians. You guys have these like great, fun, exciting ideas. And I have never been like the old guard, right? And I'm like, don't do that. You shouldn't do that. But Marissa and Josh and Dean were like, let's go. This is what we'll do. Instead of having that, on a truck, on a semi and delivered to St. Clair Health Mission, we're going to fly out to Ohio and we're going to drive it back. It's like, don't do that. Like we waited so long for this thing and they want to drive it back from Ohio. Have you ever driven through Chicago, you guys? It's 26 feet. You'll see it if you want in a few minutes. But anyway, of course, don't look a gift horse in the mouth, whatever that saying is. Like, I'm not going to say no to the Rotarians that got us a $240,000 2-exam room mobile medical clinic. So they drove it back. Who drove through Chicago? That's right. And then this is the first night. So he's your content, isn't he, Bill? Yeah, so I love this picture for a lot of reasons. This is the first night, the unveiling at Moon Tunes, but I love it because here's Bill Pritchard, who really helped this project as well. And do any of you guys know this guy? Raise your hand if you know him. So that's Richard Strauss. So I always like to talk about Richard Strauss, and you probably would hate it if you ever heard this. But Richard Strauss, I'll tell it the fun way. He's a medical interpreter, a Spanish interpreter that comes to clinic like he's probably over there right now, medical interpreting for our Spanish patients. He's at almost every clinic. So Richard doesn't sign up to volunteer. Richard texts me when he's not going to be there because it's so rare that he's not there. Right? I mean, he's just so committed, always there, always connected, and always interpreting for our patients. One day he drew blood. So I have a nurse come out of a room saying like, the interpreter is going to draw blood. And I say, well, ask him what his other job is. So Richard at St. Clair Health Mission volunteers almost every night, has for years since he retired as a pediatrician. So only people that know he's a pediatrician are people that knew him as a pediatrician. He doesn't like people who know that at the clinic. So I just think he's one of those people that I think a lot of us want to be like just no ego, super humble, only likes to be there as a medical interpreter. And he's a pediatrician. He's just a boss. And does a lot of traveling work in Rotarians as well. So drove it back. We unveiled it August 4th. And if you can go next slide, or actually go back to that slide, I'm so sorry. So another really interesting thing about mobile medicine is about just getting this clinic. So we were all so excited. Doctors Brown from Gunderson, Kayla Kemp, my nurse clinic manager, and I, the next day, we just start loading it up, right? Since this, like, it's a mobile medical clinic, but it doesn't have like gauze and wound care supplies and just all the bells and whistles that you need. So we're stocking the drawers, we're doing all the stuff. And that was the time Huska Park was still going strong, right? Last summer. So we thought, like, let's just drive it around, get used to driving it a little bit. We'll stop at the park, we'll just get a feel for it. And so on Friday, we just drive it through the park. And a few people came up and were like, hey, what's this? It's a mobile, can you see me? And Sarah Brown's a doc, so she's like, sure. So we saw a few people when we were really just kind of playing around and getting an idea of what it was gonna look like. So the excitement for all of us in that moment was just incredible. You can go next slide now. I'm gonna go a little backwards. I should have had this one towards the end, but that's all right. We're gonna do it. So Mobile Health Map is a product of Harvard Medical School. So they see the popularity and the impact of mobile health clinics. So they crunch a lot of data for people. So this is 2022. Notable about 2022 is we got the unit in August. And we weren't collecting data in a way to show all of our impact. So we're doing better now, but these are just the impacts we could prove in those 4 or 5 months of service. So 6 years of life saved, almost $500,000 returned on investment, 278 visits, a $50 to $1 return on investment, and 62 ER visits avoided. This got all jarbled, but now we've seen 434 patients, 97 ER visits avoided in total, and almost $1 million returned by not utilizing ER, by not having people in emergency health care. So you can go to the next slide. This won't be as fun a story since I accidentally put it on before, but I'll try to make it fun still. So this is the first, like the real first launch a week later, Thursday at Independence, or excuse me, at Arcadia Middle School. So as you can see, it's pouring rain now, torrential rainfall, and we're doing a sports physical clinic for migrant youth and the uninsured in Arcadia Middle School. We get set up. We have a really incredible partnership there with Bridges Healthcare, a free clinic out of Winona, Minnesota. And so they're there with a handful of nurses, the school nurses there, we have interpreters, I have 2 docs, and I'm there. And when it should look a little bit busy, it still looks just like that. So as executive director, we all have moments like this in our career. I'm thinking like, shucks, like we just got gifted a $240,000 mobile medical clinic. And if people don't show up for it, that's not going to be really good for my career, really good for the Rotary partnership, really good for anything. So next slide. So about 15 minutes later, that's what it looked like. So we had 19 cars lined up. My job was to escort people under an umbrella to and from their cars, get the paperwork filled out. And it was so busy. We didn't expect that either, but I'm glad it was that extreme, not the other. It was so busy that we set up stations inside the school cafeteria. They allowed us to do that, to do the nursing part of the sport physical, then brought the kiddos 2 at a time onto the mobile unit to do the doctor visit and some of the screenings that we had inside. So that was first night, 19 sport physicals. And so that partnership, previous slide, every other week we go to Arcadia. That will probably shift. We've been to Cochrane Fountain City to do sports physicals. So every other week we go kind of to the Trempealeau out in that area. And typically it's largely or pretty much all migrant population. Every Wednesday we do street med. So that's where we start out at Catholic Charities, then we go to Salvation Army, and then we go find the homeless folks. So it was kind of a one-stop shop for a long time. And then now we go to Cameron Park. We walk through the parking ramps. We have partnerships with all sorts of different groups that serve the homeless community and serve all types of medicine. So with the homeless community, it's a lot of foot care, it's a lot of wound care, it's a lot of safety, it's a lot of kind of coaching people into maybe getting back on their mental health meds. It's coaching people into maybe following up on their visits. A lot of the migrant population and a lot of the homeless population, very different humans, very different lives, very different cultures. But what you have is when you experience poverty at any level, how much you care about your health, even if you have type 2 diabetes or hypertension, it just keeps going down the line. because you're worried about like, how am I gonna make rent? How am I gonna get drugs? Like, how am I gonna get alcohol? How am I gonna get food? So when you don't have those basics that you need, and a drug addict needs those basics, your health just keeps falling down. So it's part of our work, not just healthcare, but how do we help folks live life in a way that health can rise a little more to the top. So they're taking their medication, taking care of their chronic conditions. Next slide. And then on alternating Fridays, and this is shifting as well to more pop-up medicine, started out as just farm medicine. So we visit local farms, dairy farms with large workforces that are uninsured and do everything from physical. Some of the folks hadn't been to a doctor in 20 years. Some of the folks have conditions that they're not treating very well. And some of the work is getting folks connected better into healthcare. So CNIC Plus, neighborhood family clinic, and those who qualify, Gunderson and Mayo. And then this is turning more and more to kind of pop-up medicine too. So we have lots of interesting partnerships. Grant with Gunderson to try to make it every Friday. This Friday, we'll be going to Northside Elementary School to see adults whose kiddos go to that school, but they don't have insurance. So they can pop in to an environment that feels comfortable, feels safe, and hop on the mobile clinic. All right, any questions?
Let me see the schedule before you go.
Yeah, so I typically, everyone asks that, and I will do that soon, but I honestly don't do a calendar for a few reasons, but I'm gonna start doing it, is because it does shift. The farm, so every Wednesday is street medicine, alternating Thursdays is usually Arcadia, alternating Fridays is different locations, and those locations, like the farms don't want us, so large dairy farms don't want us to list that we're going there because none of those employees are allowed to work in the United States. So we don't create a calendar. One reason is for that. Another reason I don't like to post the calendar, so we do street med every other week. Arcadia is a lot of times by invite only. So 55% of our patient population being Latino. If I create a calendar that says we're in Arcadia here, we're at street med here, we're at this farm or this school here, it'll overflood the capacity that we have to serve people right now. Does that make sense? So we do, and we will again. So we started a partnership. St. Clare Health Mission of Monroe County is another nonprofit that has no affiliation with us. But we try to partner really well on different things. So for the first 3 months, we went all on the other alternating Thursdays to Toma Health, but we weren't seeing a large patient volume. So Annie Behrens, who's their executive director, and I and their clinical leader are figuring out where to go next and try. And then the other places in Monroe County we go are to farms.
I'm sure you have a lot of transient, not the same patients over and over again, but do you guys keep any sort of record on a patient level basis so that you know you saw this patient 3 months ago? If they're willing to give up their personal information, whatever it be.
Right. Yeah, and that's a really great question. So we have an agreement to get Epic as an EHR, so just like you use at Gunderson or Mayo. But COVID also pushed that out. And then a merger pushed that out. So we're all paper charting and paper documentation. And that really created a challenge for mobile medicine because you'd have a person with a physical chart at St. Clare Health Mission. They'd have electronic charts at Gunderson and Mayo. Then they'd have a new physical chart on mobile med. And the solution to that was genius and not mine. But so now we numbered the charts 25,000 ahead so that chart now is that patient's chart. So we combine the mobile med and the internal chart into one chart so we can find them easier. And so when we go out on street medicine, we bring totes with all the charts. When we go out on Arcadia medicine, we bring a different tote with all those charts. When we go to farm medicine and pop-up medicine, so we have different totes and it's not the best. The goal is to transition to an EHR first just for mobile and then through our brick and mortar organization. But right now we use paper charts and that's how we do it, is we just carry them all with us.
How do you determine the amounts that are saved from the ER versus regular visit?
Yeah, so Harvard really does that. So that's like the back end of Harvard Health. But I think they're looking at like if how high the blood pressure was, because they assume you treated them, which we do. They assume you get a medication, which we do. If it's wound care, that would have been an ER visit. So I think they just have kind of an algorithm that they do that with.
Where are the biggest needs, as far as helping them to serve the community or continuing to meet the needs of your clients?
Yeah, I think the biggest need is more medical level volunteers at the NPPA MD level. So we have, who works in healthcare? A lot of people work in healthcare. So can we have like, this is a recovery center, so there's a saying, it's right over there. What you hear here, let it stay here kind of thing. Can we do that for a minute? How excited are nurses, doctors, PAs, NPs for extra work these days? How's the environment? So it's a really tough environment for medical professionals now, even after COVID. So we have a thriving clinic that's getting busier and busier. So 40% higher numbers than last year, year over year. We have a really thriving and really busy mobile medical clinic. All the volunteers we rely on are taxed and challenged and stressed and burned out. And I've heard it from a few. So do you remember hearing how stressed out nurses were like 5 years ago? Like truly, do we remember hearing that? So doctors that are about to retire will tell you every time they see that in their careers, they get stressed out because that's how it goes. Is once the nurses are stressed out, they know the administration is putting more pressure on the nursing, and then they put more pressure on the clinician. And healthcare is kind of hemorrhaging money right now, and we're, because of COVID, if you remember, if you got shut down, we're still in a place where we don't talk about this outside this room. So now everyone has to try to figure out how to cut costs and increase revenue again. So we're asking people, and we have them over there right now, probably 10 medical volunteers, but we're asking people whose day jobs are already some of the most stressful on the planet, certainly in the States, like, hey, when you get done, can you just come over for 3 hours? So it's a huge need right now to ramp up our clinician level volunteers. We're working on it in different ways.
With the immigration increasing nationally, are you seeing a huge increase in this area, especially for that?
Yeah, and it's been going on for some time. So, you know, farmers rely on, you know, we're in a real weird place, I think, in the United States. So this is going to seem political, but it's not. But so the farmers we visit, the owners have people running for office come visit the farm and tour, right? And they have 100 illegal immigrants working for them. But the politics of that don't line up, if that makes sense. There are signs in the Mexican border and the California, like there are signs all over the border for different companies in an hour radius of here, encouraging people to come up because of the great jobs there are. And they are great jobs. So it's like, we're just in a really weird place, and we'll do better. Like I know some of the companies are doing better, but we've got to take care of those people that we're begging to come here to take jobs that none of us will take. So I think it's going to keep going, and we have to figure out that healthcare puzzle. Sorry if that sounded political. It really wasn't meant to be. We're all like a thing. I think we're all hypocrites. Me too. Like we just all are. So it's just like, I wish we could just say that out loud. In our presentation, someone said, I wish everyone could be Rotarians, because then I think we could tackle some of this a little easier. But yeah, it's weird. One last thing, because I forgot to mention, I know it's important to some people. We have a partnership with Bridges Healthcare out of Winona, Minnesota. They're in the final contracting piece so that they can use our clinic on the Minnesota side with us as their partner.
Oh, nice. Great. Well, thank you, Jason.
Yeah, I went off the rails a little bit there.
I will wrap this up very quickly, but Jason, we can go tour the mobile clinic after this. So I will finish up this portion, and then if people want to go out, is it over by St. Clair Health Mission? Okay.
Right when you walk out, you just got your trailer building I was talking about. It's on the other side of that. So I'll go grab the keys and get it set up.
Okay, sounds good. So yeah, anyone that hasn't seen it or wants to see it again, I invite you to go see it. It is pretty cool. So I think it's one of the nicer probably healthcare facilities, because still brand new and clean, so shiny, so. All right, our next meeting, we have Mari speaking, so she will be heading to the West Coast in June, so she'll be with us until July, but we're just moving her final presentation up to next meeting so that she can get it in before she heads out. And then we'll have someone from Interact speaking to, which is the high school version of Rotary at our next meeting, which is May 23rd, and it will be back at the main. All right, and with that, of all the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair?
Friendships.
And Amy, you have an announcement, sorry.
So we're not trying to have these, Madeline, Kingsbury, that missing, and Winona, since March 3rd, the story of the zero line. Oh, sorry, sure, I haven't taken motion right now, but the sorority has come together and we're putting on a silent auction for her family on June 10th. So our club wants to put something together for that, or if someone wants to, yet, they'll be in Winona. Her family has not asked for this, but all the money raised will go to her family and her children and research efforts for her. If she states that she's not the silent auction will go on for her. Kids are really a lot of services throughout the life, and I do too. And her family actually didn't know some fresh. But first, they don't live in the area, so we need to help them. So all the rest of the people are.
Thank you.
If you have ideas for.
Very good, thank you, and we'll get that information maybe on Facebook or something too, so if anyone wants to attend that. Committee meetings, I think foundation, alpaca pancakes is
After this.
meeting after this.
Yes.
Service meeting tonight, no, service is not meeting, so. If anyone wants to go look at the clinic, you can head over there and then maybe you can start like 7:15 or something, but otherwise, that's it. So, thank you, everybody. I don't like it, but you're too bad. Good job.